Hi everybody, today we are going to learn how to do the bit logic operations inside the EcoStruxure Machine Expert. So first we'll open the software. The software is EcoStruxure Machine Expert Basic. So we'll be learning about the bit logic operations like set, reset, triggers, etc. So what I'll do is I'll create a new project, then we'll be doing the simulation. So it will take a little bit time to open the project. So initial steps, what we have to do is we have to give inactive for the password protection. So apply it and go to the configuration. So you can assign any CPU. So the hardware which I have here is TM221CE24R. So I'm familiar with that. So I'll select that one. Just because you are doing with simulation, you can choose any one of the CPUs and do that. So you can see on the port, when you double click on the port, there is an option to give the IP address, subnet mask, etc. and the security parameters. And if you are doing with the simulation, you don't need to do all these kind of things. Otherwise, when it is with the hardware, you have to give the IP address subnet mask and you have to enable all the security parameters. So now I'll move on to the programming part. So I'll start with set and reset. It's like a combo. So now what happens is you have outputs. You represent it as a coil. You cannot define output as a coil multiple times. But when it comes to the set and reset, you can turn on an output using one input condition and you can turn off using another input condition. So that's what exactly the set and reset means. So now I'll take set. You can see it is a coil. It will always take the right hand side and I have to give another input condition for that. Again, I'm taking reset. I'll give another input condition for that. Okay, so now my first input condition for set is I0.0. So I'll turn on one output. Then I'll reset the same output using different input conditions. So I0.1. Then the address will be Q0.0 itself. Okay. So instead of your switches, actually you can give conditions. So for example, when your timer is done, when your counter is done, or the counter reaches this much value, the timer reaches this much value, or timer is running, or timer is enabled, or you can give when the temperature is greater than 60 degrees Celsius, when the temperature is equal to 90 degrees Celsius, or any conditions can be given to set and reset the conditions. Set and reset the outputs. So it's not necessary that you have to give a switch. Just because we are learning in the beginning, I'm just showing you over the switches. So let's see, I'll go to the commissioning, loan simulator. Start controller. I'll go to the program. So here you can see, let me maximize it. Okay. So here you can see I0.0 that is connected to Q0.0. So I'll turn on the I0.0. F1. You can see the set. The Q0.0 is on. So in the reset condition also you have that particular output. That's why both will be on. So now I'll turn off F0. Just check what happens. Nothing will happen to the set and reset. Or the output, once it is on, it's on. It will turn off unless until you give a reset condition. It will be always on. Okay, it will turn off only with the reset condition. So if you have some kind of particular conditions, you can go for the set and reset. So when the value is greater than 50 degrees Celsius, then your heater should be on. And when it is less than 80 only, it should turn off. So in that kind of conditions and all, you can go for the set and reset. But you should remember that you should have a specific condition in order to reset your output. Otherwise, better to go for the normal outputs, or if you have that specific input conditions, you can go for the set and reset. In case of push buttons also, you can go for the set and reset. It's like a latch. Once it holds the output, it will never leave. Okay. So even if you are giving a signal, it will capture it. Even if it's a pulse, it's a signal, or to say continuous signal, whatever it is, whatever it receives, it will capture the value. Okay, so that's it. So now I'll turn off and show you. I'll use the reset switch. So you can see the output is off. So it's on, it's off. Okay, that's what set and reset. Let's see how the trigger is working. So what exactly is trigger? We have, you might have heard about the positive triggers, negative triggers, etc. So when it comes to a signal, you have two sides. For example, if you're taking square signal, you have two sides, 0 to 1 and 1 to 0. 0 to 1 means whenever the signal, the process is in, off condition, suddenly the process turns on, or some inputs will turn on. All of a sudden, there is a change from on to off condition, or from 0 to 1 condition. So what happens, if there is a change, if you want to detect that change, that input can be given to a positive trigger. So this positive trigger will generate a pulse. So if you want to detect that particular change, you can detect it, or this can be used for as a trigger to send and receive the signals. When you do with the communication protocols and all, for each pulse I want to receive a signal. For that also you can use it. Okay, so let's do with the positive trigger. If I want to increase the value with each pulse, I want to increase the value, I want to increment the value, or I want to add the value. In that case, you can go for trigger, positive trigger. So positive trigger will have a wide range of applications. You cannot say just because it is detecting a change from 0 to 1, you are using it for one particular application. Nothing like that. You can use it for any application as per our requirement. Okay. So now if I am going to give a normal output, what happens? When the pulse is generated, the output will come and go. You cannot see with your bare eyes. So if you want to see that, what you have to do is you have to connect a set switch in order to view your output. So I'll connect a switch. So the address means the input which gives the change, that into which input that change is happening. So for example, I have already defined till I0.1, I'll go for I0.2. So output will be Q0.1. Again, let's see negative trigger. So negative trigger means first your switch is on. So you turn on the switch, then now everything is on. Now when you turn off the switch, there is a change from on to off, or 1 to 0 change. So if you want to detect that change, something it was working in your industry, all of a sudden something turns off. During that time you want to detect it. In that case, you can go for negative triggers. So if you are connecting that input to the negative trigger, it will generate a pulse and your output will be on. So that can be given to a reset condition or a set condition. It's up to you. With this pulse you want to set something, with that pulse you want to reset something. Anything can be done. For each pulse you want to increase the value of the counter, because the counter will be working with a pulse. So you want to count something. So for each pulse you want to count something. Then you can give for either positive trigger or negative trigger. If you are specific, like when the switch is off, when there is a condition from on to off, then you can go for the negative trigger condition. So now let's see, I'll give the reset, or I can go for the set, or I can go for the reset for this particular output. So let me give this address as I0.3. This will only work when the switch is on and switch is off. Once the switch is off only, it will work. I'll give Q0.1 itself. This is just for us to understand how these triggers are working. So we'll launch simulator. So here you can see the positive trigger. So what I'll do is I'll turn on. So here you can see the status of the trigger also. When I turn on, you can see the status true. True means there is a change from 0 to 1. Now when I turn off, it becomes false. So now the change happens from 1 to 0. So all of a sudden, the positive trigger will generate a pulse, and this output will capture that particular pulse. So Q0.1 is on. Now let's check the case of I0.3. First I'll turn on the negative trigger on input. Nothing will happen. See, now the status is true. I'll turn off. So now it will reset. A pulse will be generated, and the pulse is given to the reset condition of the Q0.1, and the output will be off. So that's what negative trigger and positive trigger means. And here I will also show you a negation of the output. So here you can see negated coil. Let's see how that is also working. And it is just the opposite of the normal output. So I'm going to give the address as I0.4. So this will be Q0.2. 2 is R2. So let's launch the simulator. Start controller. So you can see here already the output is on. I did not give any signal. Already the output is on because it is a negated output coil. It's just the opposite of your output coil. So once I turn on this, the output will be off. It's just like a NOT gate. Okay. So with this we will wind up the bit logic operations. We'll be back with another video.